Okay, well, welcome to today's show, the Entrepreneur Show with Heather Havenwood, Sexy Boss Inc. and your sales campaign. I want to tell you a little bit about Heather, but first let me tell you who I am. My name is Heidi Richards Mooney. The name of my company is Redhead Marketing. We do simple results-driven social media marketing. I also have a women's group online called Women in E-Commerce, and one of our goals is to interview fabulous women around the world, and I mean around the world because we've interviewed women around the world about different aspects of doing business online. And today's guest is absolutely at the top of that list. One of the things I love about these type of formats is that you do get to meet some fabulous women. So thank you, Heather, for agreeing to be with us.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And let me tell everybody a little bit about you. So Heather Ann is a serial entrepreneur and regarded as a top authority on business strategies, internet marketing, and marketing. In 2006, she started, developed, and grew an online information marketing publishing company from ground zero to over 1 million in sales in, get this, less than 12 months. Wow.
Thanks.
Starting without a list, without a product, a name, or an offer, Heather Ann molded her client into a successful guru, now known as an expert in his field. Today, Heather Ann is going to share some of the strategies that she used. So welcome, Heather Ann. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wore my Pure Woman hat.
I love it.
And my shirt, I don't know if you can read that. It's called Being the Boss is Sexy.
I love that. I love that. Well, I like the word goddess. So yeah, sexy's always good. Who doesn't want to be sexy at any age? But goddess, I don't know. I've been called the chief goddess for many years by most of my close friends and staff. So I kind of love this chief sexy boss. I think that's just amazing. Let's get started with the questions. With all the rules that we've learned about internet marketing, such as having a list, a product, and an offer, our audience probably really wants to know how you were able to help your client become such a success and in such a short time. Can you kind of walk us through that scenario a little bit?
Sure. So it's a formula. It really is a simple formula. And then I not only did that with my client, and then I did it for myself back in 2009. And that business today is still what pays the bills today. And it's really a simple formula. And what I did was I created an offer. He didn't have a list. He didn't have an offer. We figured out what his offer would be to the marketplace, created what I call a little bit of a unique selling proposition, but not too much, and then began to focus on finding that customer. The lowest hanging fruit for finding customers is affiliates because they already have the list of your customer, making sure it's a mix and match. Now, the key piece of this that I think a lot of entrepreneurs come to me as well, there's 15 other products like that. There's, no one's going to buy that again. I disagree with that. Back in the day, I used to go to the thing called a bookstore.
What's that?
It's archaic. And there was this thing called a library. I'm kidding. And you went to the library, you went to the bookstore, and you went to a section. It could be health and fitness. It could be real estate. And you would see hundreds of books all talking about the same thing, all by different kinds of authors, different kinds of charismatic people. And so you as an individual wanting that information would then pick what you choose. So I guess what I'm saying is there's always a market. There's always a market for everything. Even in, I think, bodybuilding, I think, Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilder, his book is still out there. People buy it. But nowadays, a new person's come along and pretty much saying the exact same thing Arnold has, but in a new cover. And so I don't feel there's a new niches being created. I think we choose to buy differently, or we choose to buy again. And so what I suggest to you is, and what I took on this client and myself, is find out what is your niche that already has a marketplace. If they don't have a section in the bookstore, then to me, it's not a niche. And then go out and actually create a product such that then people want to buy it. I know that sounds so simple, but it really is that simple. I hate to break it to you. It really is that simple.
So what you're saying, I think, is that people are actually better off if they're kind of repackaging information people are familiar with, but in their own words, with their own experiences, and in a way, because we resonate with different people. What I might talk about, one of my books is Romance on a Budget. So I might talk about romance from a different perspective than a woman in her 20s. I'm not going to appeal to a 20-year-old woman unless she wants a marriage that's lasted a long time, had a lot of kids, and blah, blah, blah. But I might appeal to women my age, whereas the 20-year-old who talks about romance and long lasting, they're going to have a totally different perspective. So that's really good.
When
advice.
I started,
how do you find that niche now? So how do you research niche?
That's a great question. So, like I said, going to the library or going to the bookstore, that was the old way. But now our new way is Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. That's our new library. In this, you will see what I call, what are people purchasing? What are people buying? I always found it fascinating. There's still bookstores here in Austin. They're called independent bookstores. And I just went to one this weekend. But the number one area, or what I call most selling book area of a bookstore, is the sex aisle. Yeah, you'd be surprised. I asked one day, I asked a woman who works there, and I said, what sells the most? What's moving? And she said, well, this sex area. She knows how empty it is. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. How to give women some wild screaming orgasms, or how to, whatever it is. And that's actually why I chose my next business, is teaching men how to date and talk to women. And that's because, one, I'm a woman, and no one can ever question me on that. But number two is I knew that I could communicate to them, and I knew that men would buy from me, because that was my one unique selling proposition. Because what's out there majority is men talking to men, which I find hilarious, actually. Men telling men how we think. So I thought, what if I talk to men about women? And that's my unique selling proposition. It's not too crazy. It's just like that unique piece. And so now I have a business called Dating Triggers, where I teach men how to talk to and communicate. And I sell products. Other affiliate products on how to give women wild screaming orgasms or whatever. And if they want to buy that, I get a nice commission. But the point is that I picked that niche because it's long lasting. It doesn't go anywhere, right? And you want a niche like that's going to be here for the long haul, not the trendy niche. Even though Blab is the newest thing, this is newest, and a few years ago was something else. It will change. This is a medium, though. We can talk about old school niches on the new medium. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The niches don't change. The medium change. How we buy changes.
Well, and I think that, there's a little shift that I've heard also in when it comes to sex sells. Now, anytime you can make something sound sexy, I think people are interested in it. But I did read recently that social media has overtaken pornography as being as a pastime for people now, more popular than. And I'm like, yay for LinkedIn and yay for Blab and all these new channels. And what I think the reason that might be, and part of it is probably, and I'd love your opinion, is because there's just so many options. I think it's not one size fits all. I mean, I'm not big on Facebook. I go on Facebook. I have a huge following. I like it, but it's not where I spend my professional time, if that makes sense to you. So what do you think?
Well, it's also more opportunities to connect. Before all of this stuff out there, we had to go and find people to talk to, or we go to events, or we go to the arts, or we go somewhere, we go to bars, or some way. So men would always go to bars and things like that because they wanted to talk to. I think men really went to, quote unquote, the bar scene way more than women did. They went there to meet women, but I think they did that more than women necessarily. So nowadays, we all go online to socialize. So the socialization has not changed. Where we socialize changes. Right. Just like buying. Our buying never changes. The niches we buy don't really change, but how we buy and the medium we buy has evolved over time. So, but men haven't really changed. Men and women really haven't changed. We all still want love. We all still want to connect. We all still want to feel good about ourselves. So, and we all want to feel romance and sexy and beautiful and all those good things. And men want to feel strong and dynamic. That has not changed. It's just that how we feel that way, the medium on how we feel that way has changed. You know, back in the day, we would go to, I say back in the day, like I'm that old, we go to bars and you say a certain thing, or you'd be around your buddies, or you'd wear a certain outfit to feel a certain way. But now we can go post a picture on Facebook and feel a certain way. I mean,
right.
You know, it's kind of different, but we're still wanting the same feelings, you know, to feel attractive, to feel charismatic, to feel like we're the man, we're the woman, we're beautiful. So the feelings haven't changed. I do find it interesting that this month, October 2015, is the last month that Playboy is going to have nude pictures.
Wow.
In there. Yeah, that's a change. That's a huge change. And what I find funny about that, by the way, my boyfriend's birthday was in August, and I got him a subscription to Playboy. That was one of my gifts to him. And so he calls me this weekend, and he's like, "I'm depressed. My life is over." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Your Playboy came in as my gift, and it's the last one with naked girl." I mean, what does this world come to?
What's the point?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, and I look it up online, and he was right. And I'm like, wow. You know, so he got the last, I guess the last one, October 2015 of.
I guess I better go buy my husband one. It's going to be worth a fortune.
Exactly. And I was like, so I, of course, flipped through it, you know,
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm like, wow. So it's
They're
interesting.
sold out, you know. I bet
Probably.
it's sold out. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about niches. I've got a lot of questions for you, but I think niches are important. I think even for people who think they know their niche, how do people really drill down to find the right niche to, especially when you're first beginning? I think when you're first beginning, it's hard to know who your audience or who you're speaking to and, you know, what you should be doing. So let's talk a little bit about that.
No worries. So I, on my coaching clients, I take them through this exercise, and I can take you through it. It's pretty simple. I call it your avatar, and finding your avatar. Now, how I do is I first kind of tell the story of your avatar. You want to name the avatar, name the person. So I call it your Homer Simpson. Because when the moment I say Homer Simpson, you know what he looks like, you know what color he is, you know what the age frame he is, you know how many wives he has, you know how many kids he has, you know where he lives, you know what kind of car he drives, and you know what he does for a living, right? You know all that. I mean, I can just name it, right? He's a white guy in his 40s, married with 3 kids. He likes beer. He works at a manufacturing company. He's got 2 cars and lives in a burb area, middle class, blue collar middle class area. Okay. And you probably know how much money he makes. You can visualize him. When you are creating your niche, you want to get really clear on who that avatar is. It's not Bob and Jane. It's Bob or Jane, especially when you're starting a business. As you grow the business, you can add a Jane if you had a Bob, or you could add a Bob if you had a Jane. And then you could, what I call, add more services. However, when you're first starting, you want to have the guy. You like the person, the one person. And there's a company here, a digital marketer here in Austin, Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher own it. And their copywriters, they make them actually print out a picture of their avatar and post it right next to them in their office. So whenever the copywriters are writing to their list, they look at that avatar and they get reinformed with that avatar, and they say, I'm talking to Jane. I'm not talking to a list of 15,000 people. I'm talking to that person, or that Bob, or that Homer Simpson. So getting really clear on the avatar is the key piece. Like my avatar with dating triggers, his name is George. He's 45. He's divorced. He has 2 kids. He's upper middle class, and he wants to learn how to get back in the game of dating. Like, it's like really clear. He probably makes between $60,000 a year, maybe 100, somewhere in that range, right? He's got a decent car. He's got a nice place to live. He's okay. So that's who I talk to every time. Now, there's other people on my list. And there's actually young guys on my list. There's actually guys in their 60s on my list. But I talk to George every time. Does that make sense? So when you're new, you want to get really clear on your avatar, like you have here. You're an entrepreneur woman, clear. You probably have that age frame where she is.
And they have to do business on the web or have a strong desire to do it.
Yeah. So that's clear. That's what I would suggest. As far as your niche, the second half of your question, I kind of broke it to two. If that's okay, Heidi. It is when I talk about your niches, what is something you are always already talking about? So I suck at cooking. Let's just put out, my boyfriend would laugh if he was listening to this. I really suck at cooking. I would never do a cooking book. I really suck at it. I'm not good at it. It interests me, but I'm not good. But growing up, my mom was a divorced mom. So at the age of like 8, I was listening to my mom and her girlfriends over margaritas and guacamole and chips talk about men and dating and men and dating and what they didn't like. And since I was like 7, and then I traveled the country and I traveled with men and they'd sit there and bitch and moan about women. So I've been around the conversation of men and women my whole life. So that's been like an easy conversation and a product for me to come out and talk about. It was not that far off. You know what I mean? It's like, it was natural. So you want to do something that's a little natural for you. Fitness, if you're a fitness person every day, doing fitness is not, if you sew every day and you have sewing friends doing sewing, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You want to have something that's kind of natural for you. That's your niche. It doesn't have
to be a current business, just something that you're good at, that's natural for you and that you have a desire to do.
And I don't like the word passion. And I'm going to go against.
It's over.
It is overkill, but let me explain to you why. My passion's fitness. I work out every day. I'm in workout gear every day. I do fitness every day, but I don't teach it. It is a passion of mine. Like I love it, but I wouldn't teach it. I'm actually drawn more to relationships. I teach that. That's my teaching gift. Does that make sense? Versus my passion. I don't know why. I don't want to do your passion. I'm like,
I totally agree, because otherwise I'd be talking about wine and chocolate.
Right. Exactly. And I can't make any money on wine. I mean, you could maybe,
romance,
if you're a dealer.
I could make money out of romance.
Right. Exactly. Which is,
I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get it. Like when I hear that in the passion, live your passion, I get where they're going. I'm not like against it.
I think living your passion is a good advice. That's living. When you talk about monetizing and making money and having a career, a calling, if you will, I agree. I don't think it should be your passion, because there are some people's passions who may not be monetizable either.
Another one would say, someone says to me, well, I go, what's your passion, or what do you like to do? I like to make a difference.
Yeah. That would be a good
how you going to monetize that? How you going to monetize? I don't know. I just want to go make a difference. I'm like, well, what are you going to sell? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm just gonna make a difference. Well, you can sell fitness and make a difference. You can teach people how to date other people. That makes a difference. I mean, there's things you can do in a monetary perspective. You can teach people how to do stock market trading. That makes a difference. I mean, so you got to put it to a monetization level versus just, I just want to go make a difference in the world. You got to put it to like, what are people already buying? That's how I say it. Is that being mean? I kind of feel like I have to be.
No, I think it's being honest. And I think that the thing that is sometimes a challenge for business owners is that they don't find people honest with them. I've worked with so many people who've been, I wouldn't say sold a bill of goods, but they're people they work with have been yes people. And you sometimes have to tell people the hard truth and hope that and if they don't get it, then you're not the right fit for them anyway. I know in my case with my clients, they're the client first. So I want to get their ideas on the table. And then I always approach it, well, have you ever considered this? And I look and I ask a lot of probing questions to find out if they're open to considering other options. If they're not, then I know for sure they're not a good fit for me, because I am not going to work in a little bubble unless they've got such a tight niche that's perfect that no one else can. And, nowadays, who's got that, So, no one. But that's really more for people who are just starting out. People who are seasoned professionals, I think may have already found their niche. Maybe it's perfecting it, or maybe it's perfecting the message. So let's talk a little bit about the messaging when you found you found your niche, you know what you want to sell. You've got your business ready to go. It's now, how do you get that message out there? How do you, yeah.
Well, I think the first part of that question is the message. I like doing things that are provocative, meaning they cause like one or two reactions, like, I love it, or, oh, how dare you? You know, it's right. One of the others. I've always been that way. That's just my personality. So Sexy Boss, Chief Sexy Boss. I did the book Sexy Boss. I'm the trademark Sexy Boss. Whenever I first did it, I literally got like, oh my God, that's horrible. Or like, oh my God, I love it. You know, it was like one or the other. It was like totally left or right. Same thing with my dating. One of the sites is only date younger women. Well, a lot of people like, what do you mean by only date? And, you know, especially with women divorcing older and wanting to date younger, there's all this like other controversy around it. And I'm like, it's just one view. You just got to take a view, you know, and then with that view, you can expand to other views if you want to. So with the messaging, I would say you want to do something that's what I call unique, not run of the mill. You're not a financial company. You don't want to be like rock solid financial company. I mean, that's like boring, you know, or a product that just causes something that will make a shake in something. It causes them kind of what I call shake. I think that really is what people want. They want something unique and different. Because like we just said, you go to the library, you go to Amazon, you go to a bookstore, you're going to see the same thing over and over and over again. That's why CrossFit's really hot right now. You know, CrossFit really is calisthenics.
Right.
And Olympic lifting. That's been around forever. You know, but people want to be part of the community, and they want to feel like they're part of something, and they want to feel like around the people, and they have the word CrossFit everywhere, and they're like, I'm a CrossFitter. So then they own it. Yeah, then they're part of the tribe. Like, I am a CrossFitter. You're not. Therefore, we don't like you, or whatever it is.
My daughter and my daughter-in-law are both huge into CrossFit, so I get it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they are.
I mean, the weight part. I can do the calisthenics. The weight part is the part that I don't get, but that's just me. I'll never.
No, you get it. Yeah, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm in downtown. You have to understand, Austin's like an extremely fit city as it is, and energetically. But then you have the CrossFitters, and it's like, then they do the tribe of like, I'm the North Austin CrossFit. You're the South Austin. You know, we're the West Austin. You know, you're like, oh my God. So I just saw an interview with the owner of CrossFit. By the way, he's extremely out of, he's not fit at all. He's like overweight and he's kind of frumpy. And you're just like, I don't get that. But I'm like, good for him, man. He's a great marketer. Like, God love him, right?
God bless him.
God bless him. Like, you look like crap.
Just sell it.
Right. He's like, I don't use it. I just sell it. Yeah. So I saw an interview with him, and he gets it. He's a marketer. He gets the tribe mentality. And I'm not saying you have to go that far, but understanding the marketing principles of someone like the CrossFit is one. Apple's another one that's created a kind of a culture where you have this time-tested marketing principle. They've created a culture. Then you can then sell it. And I'll tell you how I learned all this. So years of direct response marketing. But my first experience, I didn't know it has to be done to you for you to really understand it, is called church. I'm from the South, right? I'm from Texas. And I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. And you want to talk about like goddamn nation, you know, like if you don't do this, you're going to like die. Well, I learned the art of manipulation quickly. I also learned the art of like being able to be in a tribe. And if you try to leave the tribe, like they'll condemn you. So I learned that one too. And then I learned that it's really part of our culture. You know, you become part of the church. You are the church. So that's all marketing tactics, all marketing principles. And then you take that into a company, you take that into any kind of business or product or service, and you can actually use the same marketing principles into business. And that's kind of how I learned it, because I was a church goer. I was a Bible thumper. I was totally a Bible thumper when I was like in 8th and 9th grade. And there's a friend of mine did a blog on me, a blog post. And what was the tagline? The headline was Baptist Girl Gone Bad. And I laughed because I said, that's so true. I'm the Baptist girl from Houston, Texas, that has quote unquote gone bad, because I left the church. But the point is of business, if you use the same time-tested principles of any kind of community like that, i.e. church, you can take that into business and leverage it, which is what CrossFit has done.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point too. If you can study a certain industry that does really well, like CrossFit, and really study their marketing. And you talk about religion. I'm a recovering Catholic, and you know what? You know how brainwashed that all of us are when we're recovering from any religion. And it's just it's so interesting. They're the best marketers in the world to get people to show up every Sunday at 11 o'clock for church, sit there for an hour, and then go home, and then they do their own thing, and it's like they've forgotten all the things they've learned anyway. So
right, and dress up. They make you dress up on a Sunday. What kind of marketing they make you dress up on a Sunday?
Exactly. So Heather, what are the top 3 ways that you promote your business?
Thank you for asking the question. Let's see. Podcasting, blabbing. This is the new blabbing, but podcasting is a big one for me right now. I really love it. I love the medium of it. I have multiple books on Amazon. I'm a big believer in doing a lot of different things. Books are a big one. I don't think you have to have what I call a dissertation to have a book. Some of my books are 45 pages, 50 pages. They don't have to be these essays, but they get the message across. And it's also, some people are podcasters. Some people like to hang out on Amazon and look around, so that you have those people. Of course, you have Facebook and things like that. I have Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I really enjoy LinkedIn because it's kind of a different conversation. It's not as entertaining as Facebook. It's not an entertainment value. I think Facebook has a kind of like, we go there to be entertained, to let go, kind of like TV.
Right.
LinkedIn, not so much. It's not at that level. So I like LinkedIn a lot. But those are the ways I do it. And then my number one way in all business is email marketing. I'm a big email marketer. I believe in email marketing is the key.
So you bring another good point, because I think a couple of years ago they started this rumor that email marketing was dead, and I was
that's good.
No way. I'd rather do that than social media. And I love social media. I use all the channels too. I agree. LinkedIn is fabulous. I love Twitter. Yeah. And of course, these new mediums as they come out, I like to be an early adopter and at least see if they're worth my time and effort. And if not, at least I can learn enough to show other people what to do and how to do. So this is another reason I love to get in on early. But let's talk a little bit about email marketing. Since you brought it up, why it's so good still to you, and what we can do to leverage it even more because of all the statistics you read. I know I read a statistic that even though a lot of people use social media, email marketing has still got a higher response rate. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure, no problem. And I also want to, there's a gentleman, V.O. Lord Kingdom. He just said a question. I give out business cards in the streets of Manhattan.
Excellent.
I love that. I will say this though about that, giving business cards out in the streets of Manhattan. When we're walking and we're going somewhere, okay, and someone's coming at us, they could be the perfect avatar for your business, but we're not in a place where we want to receive it. We're not in that space, and we didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for that. So the marketing's like this. Billboards, that's different because it's coming at us, but it's almost on a subconscious level. That's why it's all branding. Geico's big on billboards, right? Because it's just like, we've seen it 1,000 times. Oh, Geico, it's like all of a sudden subconscious advertising. Email marketing is the reason they got on there. The reason why you're in my email box is because I invited you in. So I went somewhere, I gave you my address, and then you give me something. It's a very different conversation.
Right.
So the person that's on the guy who gives out the streets of Manhattan, the better way to do it is figure out a way to get their email address to see if it's a fit and go, hey, well, I want to give you this free gift. Can I get your email to get that to you? It might take a lot more time to do that, but you're going to get a better result over a period of time. So that's kind of what I would say. But the key of email is that it's the new radio. Radio is not dead. TV is not dead. Billboards aren't dead. It's just a different kind of marketing. Email is the new radio. The reason I say that is because radio has an entertainment value to us, as well as like, let's say we tune into news station or we tune into just the pop station. It's an entertainment value. We're getting information from radio. Email's the same way. We log into our email to kind of get something. We're looking for something. We'll tune into this newsletter that's about the news, really. And we'll tune into this newsletter that's actually about what happened to the Kardashians this week or whatever. Or we'll tune into this one that talks about the new internet marketing thing. So we choose where we go on email, just like we choose the channel on radio.
Well, so, you made another good point. I think push marketing, while it's not dead, it's just it's people do react differently to it. And I think Valor Kingdom is doing more what you call push marketing. And I think that a lot of the thought leaders are saying that it isn't necessarily the best way. But if you've given out 5 million cards and you've been successful and you're selling lots of art, and good for you and it works for you, you're probably the exception and not the rule. Because especially when you think about Manhattan, my father lives there. And I know when I go visit, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm such an introvert. Even though I love radio and I love all this, I love talking one-on-one. You get me in a group of people and I just want to go find one person to talk to. And so when
I agree.
Streets, I'm heading one place and that's all I want to think about. And I'm not thinking about anybody coming. In fact, someone came up to me with a business card. I'd probably think they had something else in their hand, so it
would scare me. Yeah, it would scare me. But I would say to this gentleman he talked about his art, something that I think would get more, I would say more respect, but also more people in, would be inviting people to a show. Even if it was every day at 7 p.m. in the same area. Like, I invite you to come look at my art at 7 p.m. tonight. We're having wine and cheese. So you're sending an invitation and you're giving them the choice. That's why Meetup is so brilliant, because people can throw up a meeting and say, we're going to invite you, Heidi, to our new art gallery that's opening tomorrow. And you're like, oh, I want to go do that. So it's you're being pulled into it because you want to go see it. And so then if they get there, you get there, and then you're willing to give up your email address to let them send you stuff about art, then you're all for it. You're a target market. Doing something like that, creating meetups, doing some kind of invitation to some event to show your work would be way better. And you probably make a lot more money. That's my personal opinion. And plus you can create an email list. So one day you can stop giving out business cards. You're creating an email list.
Well, make sure if you are giving out those business cards, they have a good call to action that people, at least somebody will go in and sign up for your list. So let's talk a little bit about sales, because I know I called this your sales campaign. Let's talk about when people decide to embark on a new sales campaign. What's the first thing you advise them to do? And then after that, what?
So the sales, like asking the first piece of the sales campaign, is that what you meant? Say that again.
When people decide to embark on a new sales campaign, what's the first thing that you advise them to do? And then what's the steps to follow?
Okay, great. So in our world, it'd be a VSL or a sales offer, right? So to get them to that page, you would do what I call pre-selling. So it's a pre-sell page. The first of any kind of advertising, either banner advertising, Facebook advertising, business cards, billboards, you want to pre-sell them that they're self-selecting themselves to that offer. So some kind of the advertising, they're self-selecting themselves. And then the second piece of that is when they actually get to the sales page or the offer or to the real estate or the website or phone call, whatever that is, that they've already pre-selected themselves and that they know they're interested in your niche overall, like fitness overall. So then once you have that, you want to get really clear, really fast to them of what the type of offer it is, either how to lose weight in 10 pounds, a product that's going to help them lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks, things like this. You want to get really simple, clear. What is the result this product or service is going to produce for them quickly? Then they're hooked. Like, okay, I want that result. I'm now listening. So then you can then do the whole process, the sales process, and then ask for the order after that. A good example of that, when I was traveling around the country doing real estate seminars, we would fly into a city, our team, and we would do a seminar in the morning and the afternoon, morning and the afternoon, morning and the afternoon, 3 days in a row. And each one was 2 hours. And these people would show up at these hotels at 1 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and we would have 2 hours to sell them a $3,000 seminar. Wow. But what you understand is they've already pre-selected themselves that they're interested in the X. And the X at the time was how to make more money. So then they come, they're interested, they've self-selected themselves. They're now sitting in a 2-hour presentation. Now it's our job to sell them on why we can give them that result. So then in a 90-minute period, we would sell them or not onto a $3,000 seminar. And I learned quickly the art of sales. But those people, even though they're strangers, they have pre-selected themselves at some level. And then just to let you know how that worked is if we sold 12% of the room at a $3,000 seminar, that was a win. That was a huge win. And most people will be like, that's ridiculous. If we saw 100 people and we sold 12, whoa.
That's a lot, yeah.
Huge day.
And each 2-hour segment or over the whole 3 days?
Each 2-hour segment, yeah. So if we averaged over 12.
Good.
That is really good.
That's great results. So that was your average was 12%?
Yeah. 12%. That was what I call to allow us to keep coming back the next week. We had to hit that.
That was is that your closing rate?
That was our closing rate. Yeah. So what I learned was though, if we could learn to increase that, we would make more money, right? So I went out and I started to learn the art and science of presentations, and I started to teach my speaker what I was learning, and we were moving it to 19, 20, and 21%. Wow. So because of that, we were making a lot more money. But what people understand in the internet is they go, wow, 10 people came to my site. No one bought. I'm like, that's okay.
It's only 10 people.
It's only 10 people. Now, if 1,000 people come to your site and only one buy, okay, we have an issue. But if only 10 buy, that's okay. That's actually not bad. People have to understand that. That's 1%. And there's a difference between online, because we're clicking around and it's easy to click off, versus sitting in a room and you're forced to talk to me for 2 hours. And we have your attention for 2 hours. It's a way different kind of time span. So an attention span too. So it's very different. So if you're getting 1% conversion rate, a 3% conversion rate on online, whoa, that's huge. And people have to understand how the numbers are. But the key to your question is pre-selling and self-selection.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the one common element or trait that all good sales professional or people who are good at selling something have in common.
Connection. Being able to connect with the other person and being able to connect with their avatar. So going back to my example of being in the seminar, when you're in a room full of people, you can connect. Just like right here, I can connect with you. I can connect with you, height as a person, and get to know you and what your desires are. I can touch your energy. I can feel your energy. Especially if you and I are face to face, there's a different energy between us.
Right.
And I can feel when you're like antsy. I can feel when you're like, leave me alone. I can feel when you're like, I'm thinking, you can feel that stuff. When you're online, you can't. So, and it's really easy to do the, click off button, back button, Twitter account. It's really easy to do that. So with that, you have to be able to, all the words that you say in copy, as you know, is connect with them really fast and connect with one person really fast. So with our presentations, they wouldn't change much, but they would change if we were in New York versus Dallas. We would talk differently. We would talk slower versus New York. We talk faster. We would change our tone. We would sometimes change the way we dress in the room. Because that's connecting with that audience.
Right.
But online, you can't do that. You have to just go, this is my avatar. This is who I'm talking to. And then go for it. Because you can't shift that too much online.
But it's so funny because some people are not your avatar, but they think they are too when it comes to selling online. They're like, oh, she's speaking right to me. But this is like an 80. I have a lot of clients that are over 60, let's put it that way. It seems like I've created that niche in my social media business. So I help a lot of authors who've written several books, and I really love it because they're so open to things because they haven't had all the same experiences online because they just haven't done it. So they're more eager to learn. Whereas I don't connect real well with 20-year-olds because they know more than I do. Not that they do, but a lot of them think they do because I've been doing this online since the mid 90s. My first website was 1993 when nobody in my community even had a website for their business really. So, I think that,
that's good.
I think that it's knowing who you're talking to and knowing how to communicate with them is so key. And knowing your own communication style. So what are some of the major mistakes that you see people make when it comes to sales?
Oh, wow. A lot.
I know, right?
but I will say, do you remember AOL and like,
oh yeah, you've got mail.
Yeah. And that was my first chat. Like,
I remember
and
that.
I would sneak into my dad's office and I would like cover the fax up with something so he wouldn't hear like, that's because that was the sound to connect with the internet, like, and then go, bing, you've got mail, and then I would chat online. I talked to this guy for like hours. I don't even know his name, but he probably was some pedophile or something. But I mean, now looking back, I'm like, I'm sure he was. But I was just like, I'm talking to somebody in another planet. This is great.
Gosh,
I remember that. That was like 97.
I had a friend who came to me and he says, I'm talking to this lady in England. I go, really? I said, how'd you meet her? He goes, online. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we're talking on AOL. I'm going, you're talking to someone on AOL online? And I was the next day I got an AOL account. I was like, I got to do this. I have no idea what it's about, but that's the way my mind works.
Yeah, no, I get, my dad's an early adopter. So now I'm an early adopter. So I get that. So I totally get the early adoption thing. That's me.
Yeah, so other mistakes.
Yeah. So sales, number one mistake, numbers, not knowing their numbers, meaning not knowing how many people they really can go through to get to the sale, or getting frustrated in that process of like not wanting to go through their numbers to get to the sale. Like this guy who did since 1992, 5 million cards. I mean, no matter what, based on that number volume, he's going to get sales just because there's such a mass amount of volume that you're going to get, even so 1%, you're still going to get sales. So people have to understand that it is a numbers game at the end of the day. It's not always about exactly every single word that you say in the copy. It's a numbers game of how many people you can get to that website or the postcard or whatever it is. Number one. Number two is that connection piece is not being able to connect. But the big one is that avatar. Because I'm sure you've had this with clients, is like, who's your market? Everyone. I teach yoga and everyone needs it. I'm like, well, not everyone wants it. So you can't push yoga onto someone or they don't want yoga, so you have to, it's a self-selection. You have to let people self-select themselves into your sales funnel and create the wording and the actions to let them do it. And I'll tell you this last story, and this helps you. So how I got into this business is I was in sales and marketing, and I think I told the story, and then I got fired because I was number one in sales. So they fired me, which is still like, I don't understand that.
I know.
I don't understand this. I'm like 24 years old, but I made all this money for you. I don't understand. So anyway, long story short, I'm broke, and I go to this seminar, and the seminar is like, do you want to be your own boss? And see, this is right at the time when I got fired, and I'm all about like, I'm going to be my boss. That's never going to happen to me again. Right. So the wording of you want to be your own boss, I'm like, sign me up. Right. Whatever it is, I'll be doing, I don't care if it's cars. I don't care. As long as I'm my own boss. Right. That was like the key wording for me. Do you want to make your own money and your own boss? So I, sign up now, go to this seminar, and I'm like, writing it down behind my boyfriend, So I go to the seminar. I totally lied because they had half off for your spouse, and I didn't have a spouse. So I nudged the guy next to me, and I said, hey, you want to be my husband? He's like, sure. So we went, and to this day, he did, swear to God. And I walk up to the back of the room and I'm like, oh, he's my spouse. And they looked at me and looked at him. We don't have a ring on. We're not holding hands. I mean, it was kind of obvious, right? And they just kind of looked at me like, you're so lying, but we don't care. So I said, okay. So I sign up and I go to this 3-day event. And at the time, I didn't even care what they were teaching me to sell. It was just the fact that it was an opportunity that I could own my future. Those were the words that I was like, I will never build another other person's company and let them take it from me. That was my whole motivating factor. And it was actually teaching people how to do factoring and buy and sell houses. And again, I didn't care because I knew I could sell anything. And so I was like, that'll work. That's fine. As long as I know.
Apply across the board pretty much. So yeah.
So it was interesting. So the point was I self-selected myself. And I didn't really care what it is that the engine was that they were going to teach me. All I knew is they were going to teach me something that I could be my quote unquote own boss. And I self-selected myself. And so I paid $1,000, like thank goodness for my so-called spouse who I never saw again. And, so that's sales. That's a key piece. You have to think about that person. But every great salesperson loves to be sold. So you have to allow yourself to be sold. You've had to walk into situations and go, sell me.
So true. My husband is a wonderful salesperson. And I'll tell you what, I can't take him anywhere because he buys everything.
Yeah.
And he buys the big ticket items and I sit there and go, really? Thought about it? Do we really need, this weekend getaway, whatever? I'd rather go to the Bahamas. I don't know. Anyway, I have a couple of last questions. This has been fabulous. And thank you all for your comments over here and the applause that you're giving to Heather and myself, especially Lakeisha. I really appreciate your being in the room. And Valora asked why they fired you. I don't know if you want to tell us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I was working for a big company and I was 25 years old and I was number one in sales in the entire country based on numbers. And my boss didn't like that. So she fired me.
You made her look bad, but you didn't really make her look bad.
I didn't make her look bad.
Idea about it because she was competitive. And see, that's a problem in a lot of cases.
Between you and me as a female, looking back as a female, at the time I didn't understand it, but she was overweight. She was unhappy in her life. And here's this young little whippersnapper, 25-year-old making double the amount of money she is. She's out. That's how women think sometimes. I'm not saying all.
It's a shame. I work with a lot and primarily with women, and I really love working with women. And those women that I find, I usually end up walking across the other side of the room. Because
you know what I'm talking about. We can be crass. Women can be crass. That was my first experience of not having my boss go, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. That was like weird experience for me. She's like, you're number one in sales at the entire country. I can't do anything about that. The only thing I can do is just fire you. And I was like, I am so confused. So yeah, it was definitely what I call one of those moments where little Heather grew up really fast that day.
Wow. But you know what? She gave you such a valuable gift. And I want to just say thank you. Lakeisha said we really need to support each other more when it comes to women. Yeah. I think that's true of humanity in general, and women in particular, because we've all had girlfriends who've, not
backstabbed us or whatever. Yeah, we get jealous. And
yeah, exactly. It's a shame. I think as a gender, some of us are just way too emotional. And I'm emotional, but I think I'm appropriately emotional. Sometimes my husband says I'm not emotional, but I think I'm appropriately emotional. So where do you get your creative ideas? Because you have to get them somewhere. I'm sure they come to you. You're so creative. You've done so many things, and you're so young to have accomplished so much. So tell us, where do you get your creative ideas?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for the compliment. First, I've never been told I'm creative, so thank you so much. You are. Thank you so much. I'm honored by that, really. Gratitude. My higher self, I don't really necessarily have a place I go. I think it's just I connect with my higher self. But I will tell you, I can't cook. I'm not creative there. I'm a horrible artist. I love artists because I'm like, I don't know how y'all do that. Photography, I always hire great photographers, but I have no eye for anything like that. I think for me, my what I call muse. There's a book called The Art of War, not The War of Art, The Art of War by
The Art of War is a great book.
Yeah, by Stephen Pressfield. He talks about his muse, which his higher self, how he, what I call downloads his books or his creative side. He talks about it. And after I read that book, it's like, oh, okay, learning how to tap into that when I need to. I think that's really it. But also sometimes I think ideas come to you and you have to be ready to write it down and then let it, someone told me this once, a copywriter told me this. He goes, write down an idea and then let it incubate. Like,
yes.
Let it incubate a little. You know, you don't have to act on it. And the other thing I've learned over, this is what I call old woman talking, is don't tell people your ideas until you're ready to put it out there. And you know it's right. Like Chief Sexy Boss, the first people I told that, I got some negative back. Oh, you shouldn't do that. I mean, really hardcore. If I listened to that, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I had to push through that. And I had to say, don't look for their confirmation. I know it's right for me. I know that it's something that I need to say to the world. It will make a difference in the world. I know that intuitively. And then over a period of time, it's kind of happened. But honestly, at the beginning, when I started putting the book out, Sexy Boss and Sexy Boss Inc., I was getting all kinds of negative.
Well, because some people might construe it as sexism or something else, and it's not at all. It's really, it sounds to me more like being confident. A very dear friend of mine, you may have heard of her, Jessica Kazorik. She has a group called Badass Businesswoman.
Yes.
When she first came up with Badass Businesswoman, she lost half her following. Because first of all, they didn't like the word badass. They thought they misconstrued it, but it has been such an amazing brand for her that now she's got her own show on public television. She travels the world and speaks about video and videography and changing the world. And she's got this amazing leadership message. And I think that had she listened to all the naysayers, who knows where she'd be today. So you know what? I totally agree with you. I write everything down. You could tell by my desk and by the 27 journals that I write in every day. And you know what's fun is when you go back and you read the ones from the 90s, well, for me, for the 90s, and I see my ideas back then. Actually, I've actually done something with some of those ideas recently that I wasn't right. So you do have to, you have to incubate, and you have to like really let those ideas ferment. And sometimes you got to jump on them immediately. So, I understand you have a tip or resource of the week. Can you please share that with all of our guests? Yeah. You may not know that you have one, but if you have a tip or resource of the week, will you share that with the audience? You can be your favorite website, favorite tool, what you do, what you use to manage your business. I don't care.
So I'm looking over to my right, y'all's left. I look at this every day. I think that it's my lessons of life, my rules of life, and there's about 10 of them. And so I'll just share one with you because I look at every day. Let's pick one. Okay. This is kind of an esoteric one, but let's go with this one. I don't lose control of my power or my life. I choose to give it away. And there's a lot of lessons in that particular phrase. But the point for me with my life, there was a point in my life that I felt like I was always a victim to everything. And it's like, no, I don't lose control of my life or my power. I always am giving it away. I'm at choice. So if you feel victimized by some things because you're choosing to do that, whatever it is. So it's like basically bringing the choice and decision and the responsibility back to you. You can choose to give your power away, or you can choose not to give your power away. You're always at choice. So.
And that's so true in every aspect of life. Great words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And I love helping women and lifting women up and showcasing the talents, because there are great people on the planet, obviously. In particular, I enjoy helping women showcase and shine. So thank you for allowing me to share your message today with our audience and being with us. Tell us if you have any events coming up or anything exciting coming up that you'd like our audience to know about.
I don't right now. I don't right now, but I would love you guys to go to my site for women. It's sexybossinc.com. That has my book, and it's all about you guys and women and empowerment of you. My main site is heatherhavenwood.com, heatherhavenwood.com. And then for you single men out there that you want to know how to talk to us ladies, you can go to datingtriggers.com. And my phone just went off, and I'm not sure why. Sorry about that.
I'm just writing this down into the little the chat area.
Oh, okay.
So you've got how to get a hold of you and everything. Any last thoughts, Heather? Any final comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I would. Thank you so much for having me. And I would just say to everyone out there, including men out there, and I have a tagline, it's called Be You, Be Real, Be the Sexy Boss You Are. And for men, it's Sexy Stud. So I just say go out there and do what you love to do, not necessarily your passion, be your passion, and then go out there and make a lot of money.
Yay. I like that. Music to my ears. So thank you all for listening in. Again, this is Heidi Richards Mooney. The name of my company is Redhead Marketing Inc. And also I have a women's channel called Women in E-Commerce. And we'd love for you to visit sometime and check it out. We're actually in the process of redesigning the website. So it's in its 5th iteration over the last 14 years. But the last time I redesigned it was before mobile was so hot. So now we're making it totally responsive, and that'll be fun. And Heather, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to come back at another time, and maybe we'll talk about some other aspect. We could talk about dating. We can talk about whatever you want.
I like the dating. That would be a lot of fun for me.
You're just fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Again, it's been Heather Havenwood. Be sure and check her out everywhere online. And thank you all for joining us today. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.